It is 1849. A broke inventor in New York City sits at a workbench with a piece of wire, a $15 debt, and 3 hours to figure something out. By the time he stands up, he will have solved a fascinating problem that stumped humanity for 3,000 years. He doesn't know that yet. People have been trying to hold their clothes together for as long as they have worn them. For most of human history, there was no good way to do it. In the Bronze Age, people held their robes shut with thorns, bone splinters, and knotted cord. It worked. Barely. The sharp point was always exposed, and the danger was always there. Around 1000 BCE, Mediterranean smiths bent wire into a curved pin with a small catch at one end. They called it the fibula. It was the world's first dedicated fastener. Roman soldiers pinned their cloaks with fibulae. Wealthy women wore jeweled versions. Archaeologists have found tens of thousands of them across the former Roman Empire. But the fibula never solved the core problem. The sharp tip stayed exposed, ready to scratch skin, snag fabric, or catch on anything it touched. 1,000 years passed. No one did better. The Middle Ages brought buttons, hooks, and laces, more secure, but slow. Getting dressed in the 1500s could involve dozens of fastenings and take the better part of an hour. By the 1800s, tailors used the straight pin, a metal thorn with a bead at one end, essential in the workshop, a puncture wound waiting to happen anywhere else. Into this long, unsolved story steps Walter Hunt, born in upstate New York around 1800, and one of the most restlessly inventive Americans of his century. Hunt had already built an improved nail-making machine, a coal stove, a street sweeper, and improvements to firearms. Ideas came to him constantly. Money did not. In 1832, Hunt built a working lock-stitch sewing machine, years before Elias Howe took credit. Hunt never filed a patent. He feared it would cost seamstresses their livelihoods. Howe patented his version in 1846 and made a fortune. Hunt had built the same machine 14 years earlier and simply walked away from it. By 1849, Hunt was a middle-aged inventor in New York City with a cluttered workshop, a brilliant mind, and a $15 debt to a friend. The friend made a proposal: come up with something useful from a piece of wire, and the debt is forgiven, plus a share of whatever it earns. Hunt agreed. For 3 hours, he worked without a blueprint or a plan, coiling one end, curving the middle, testing the other. The solution came from his hands, not his head. The coiled end was the first breakthrough. When bent open, the coil stored energy like a spring. Release it, and the pin snapped shut on its own. It wanted to close. The second breakthrough was the clasp. The point didn't stay exposed, it slid into a small, enclosed metal guard, locked away, invisible, safe. In 3 hours, Hunt had built something ancient Rome and 3,000 years of smiths had never managed. A pin that closed automatically and kept its point completely hidden. The elegance is structural. The spring provides tension, the curve provides grip, the guard provides safety. Remove any element and the design collapses. Together, they are irreducible. Hunt called it the dress pin. We know it as the safety pin. That single word, safety, is the entire history of fastening compressed into one syllable. On April 10, 1849, the United States Patent Office issued patent number 6281. The safety pin was official. Then Hunt made a decision that belongs in every cautionary tale about inventors. He sold the full patent to the same friend he'd owed money to for $400. $400 cleared his debt and left him with a surplus. Reasonable money for 1849. Against the true value of what he had just invented, almost nothing. The new owner knew exactly what he had. Manufacturing began immediately. The safety pin was cheap to produce and solved a problem every person on Earth shared. Within years, the pin found its first great home, the cloth diaper. Before disposables, every infant was held together with a pair. The pin and the newborn were inseparable. Military kits carried them for field repairs. Seamstresses used them to baste fabric before stitching. Theater costume departments built their entire operation around them. Factories learned to produce them by the millions drawing wire, cutting it, coiling the spring, forming the clasp, all in fractions of a second, thousands of pins per hour. Steel wire enters the machine. Cutters, coilers, and formers work in sequence. Out the other end comes a finished safety pin, one unbroken piece of metal, shaped in seconds. There are no joints, no welds, no added components. The entire pin is one wire bent into shape. In manufacturing terms, it is almost perfectly efficient. The safety pin made in factories today is geometrically identical to the one Hunt bent by hand in 1849. Nothing improved because nothing needed to. By some estimates, tens of billions are produced globally every year, among the most manufactured small metal objects in history, all descended from one Tuesday morning in New York. In the mid-1970s, the safety pin found a second life. Punk rockers in London and New York began wearing them through ears, lapels, and collars. The choice was deliberate. The pin was cheap, widely available, faintly dangerous, and carried no pretension, a perfect symbol for a movement that rejected everything polished. Punk made the safety pin a badge of do-it-yourself culture, one pin from the kitchen drawer. No money, no tailor, no permission required. Designer Vivienne Westwood threaded them through runway fabric, and a hardware store staple became high fashion. The pin had traveled from nursery to nightclub to the pages of Vogue. In 1994, Elizabeth Hurley wore a black Versace gown held together by oversized gold safety pins to a London premiere. The dress made front pages worldwide. In 2016, the safety pin became a symbol of solidarity in Britain and the United States, worn to signal that the wearer was a safe person, an ally. Today, the safety pin lives in sewing kits, first aid bags, costume rooms, and hospital supply carts. It has never been replaced because it has never been bettered. Hunt went on inventing after the sale a paper collar, a fountain pen, improvements to firearms, but he never accumulated significant wealth. Hunt died in New York City in 1859, a decade after his greatest invention, without the fortune his work deserved. The irony is specific. Hunt had already walked away from the sewing machine. Then he invented the safety pin and sold it for the price of a decent coat. But consider it another way. Every diaper fastened, every hem pinned, every badge clipped to a lapel, all of it runs back to a Tuesday in 1849. The safety pin asks almost nothing of you. One motion to open, one motion to close, and the spring does the rest. That is what a completely solved problem looks like. 3,000 years of Bronze Age thorns, Roman fibulae, and medieval buttons. And it took one indebted inventor 3 hours with a wire to finally close the loop. We fasten and pin and clip every single day, and almost never think about the debt, the wire, or the 3 hours that made it all possible. This is Origins. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. There's a new origin every single morning.